The Spin-Off Podcast Network.
This is Kiwi is back for a brand new season with more inspiring kōrero from special guests including rugby player, father and role model TJ Perenara.
My family bring me joy. Rugby brings me joy too, but it's not the same joy as my family brings me.
And global dancer and choreographer Kirsten Dodgen.
For some reason, people think I'm very intimidating.
Listen to the new season of This is Kiwi, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network in collaboration with KiwiBank. Available now wherever you get your podcasts.
Kia ora, I'm Alex Casey, senior writer at The Spin-Off. We wouldn't exist without the ongoing support of our generous members. If you're able to, you can make a donation at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Do we address the dog in the room?
Yes, we talk about our special guest, Susan Boyle, then explain.
We've never had a guest of this calibre before.
Kia ora, welcome to The Real Pod. This is a very special episode, not only because of our special guest, Susan Boyle, but because we are doing our top 20 CTI contestants at Celebrity Treasure Island, if you don't know.
The reboot.
The reboot.
We need to be quite clear about how narrow we've made this.
Just the reboot. But we have to start off with some, well, first of all, the housekeeping.
Please, Jane.
So the housekeeping.
It's what the people listen for.
Our Discord and our Facebook Real Pod Corner links are in the show notes. Make sure you get there. Make sure you listen to the porn episode that Alex Casey and I did with
So good.
Chris Parker and Eli Matthewson last week.
So candid.
What? What?
Is that fine?
What?
Just your shirt's kind of unbuttoning itself, or is that fine? Okay, no.
Alex is like telling me I'm too rude.
No, I just wanted
There's
to
been
check.
a porn episode.
Duncan, fair warning, things have changed since you were last in the studio. We're a lot looser now. We're not ashamed to say things like penis. Look how I did that so easily. It's a whole new era for the Real Pod, but I'm going to do that button up.
I didn't know if it's what you
fine.
want.
I'll do them
It's
all up.
fine.
I'll do them all up. That's fine. I'll put them over my face.
What have you done, Alex?
I'm sorry. I just wasn't sure.
It's totally fine. But we have some real news, so we'll crack into that, shall we? Ordinarily in a podcast, people introduce themselves too, so I feel like real news is a good time to do that. I'm Jen Yee.
Breaking news. Alex Casey.
And
Duncan Grieve.
nice. Also, Samuel is in the producer's chair, challenging T.I. here, his role as angel of the pod network, can I say?
I think Susan Boyle could take us all down if she felt like it.
Absolutely, without question.
She knew how to operate all of that.
I'm going to really struggle to get through this episode with just not laughing at just the sheer beauty of Duncan holding Susan Boyle.
I like that Susan seems really happy in my lap. Like I'm going no hands. Susan is not looking remotely.
She looks a little resigned to me, if I'm to be honest.
But she's wearing her merch
She's
with
rocking the
pride.
Guy Love merch.
I would also like to, I don't know if this is possible, I don't know what the schedule's like, but can we do a photo shoot of Susan Boyle operating the controls? I feel like that's what the people want.
It started out as me trying to pay you a compliment, Samuel. And T.I. has selfishly gone off and had some annual leave that he's been well overdue for. And so Samuel's just been saving our bacon left, right and centre and done just such a smashing job. So thank you.
It's true.
Bravo.
Started
Can
like
I
10
applaud
minutes
myself?
ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what we do here.
It is actually.
Right, now, real news, the big news. We went to the TVNZ showcase, didn't we?
We
All together as a group outing.
Huge outing. Nice time for us, actually. We never get to go out together.
We keep threatening and then not making it happen, don't we? But we did.
We did. We made it happen. And I want to say it didn't disappoint, but it was a little bit. But it's not boring's not the word. It was long. It was long.
Over 2 hours.
Over 2 hours.
I don't think that's true.
What?
Well, we got in at. Oh my gosh, maybe it was true.
It was true.
Oh my gosh.
It was true. I had to leave before it ended. Willie Jackson left even well before me.
All the stars were hidden away.
Willie's out. Well,
Very
Willie's out.
good. This is a rude pod.
It's the only thing that we're doing from here on in. But the big news for us, in amongst all the kind of other like American shows that are coming on, and the news is back.
And Friends is still free,
Friends is
everybody.
still free for all. The big news was the announcement of not one, but 2 seasons of Celebrity Treasure Island for 2023.
Praise be.
What?
And Praise B is probably back as
We're
well.
actually still doing really well. Highest rating show on a Sunday morning, probably.
So CTI, there's going to be the regular version that we know and love, which is a whole bunch of celebrities on an island. But they've done a spin-off show in honour of us, surely.
Yeah.
They called it a spin-off show, which is Fans vs. Faves, and it's coming in January, and there's a new host, and there's so much information to take on
Too
board.
soon.
Back to Fiji.
Back to Fiji.
And there's a whole team of people who know the show better than anyone else. Just checking my fax machine here. Anyone got the e-vite to be a part of that program?
No, not as such.
I wondered if maybe my voicemail has been faulty recently. People haven't been able to leave messages.
In terms of people who know the show better than anyone else, and I saw as well Brie in an article talking about like the fans are able to like quote. We can quote quotes.
Yeah, we can quote
Can
quotes.
quote quotes. It's like our main thing.
Do you think?
Is it? Misquoting quotes.
Misquoted quotes.
Do you think we've upset the producers?
Maybe it's just too much. Like it's like it would be a universe collapse. or
Maybe they'd be
something.
worried. Here's what it is. Maybe they'd be worried that we wouldn't recap it if one of us or 2 of us or 3 of us were there. And the value of our recaps means that's not it, is it?
No.
No, that's not it.
Hey,
That's
something
okay.
got lost in the post.
Yeah.
You know, there's been post issues.
Though a little birdie, or a couple of little birdies in the corner, tell me that they were indeed approached.
Give me names.
I will not, because I fear what you will do to them. So, you know, it's not like Warners don't know we exist.
No.
They're in the corner, sniffing out our cornies.
Speaking of celebrities, Mike Train from
Is it? From it too?
Unite Union.
Oh, Unite.
Mike Train's trying to park his truck outside.
He was my delegate when I was part of the PMU, yeah.
Love that.
He's not doing very well, can I just say?
He was
He had a terrible
wearing,
time with that truck.
he used to wear a leather jacket. I was like, damn.
He still does.
We really whiplashed out of there, didn't we?
May I take us back to Fans v Faves? Huge theory from a huge fan. Chisholm has stepped down as host to be one of the faves or the fans.
But then his kind of tense Instagram posting
It
was,
wasn't just tense. He put them on blast.
yeah. I mean, what a great,
You do what you got to do. What a
Great
misdirect,
deflect.
Yeah.
you know?
yeah, for sure. The other important part of the fans versus faves, of course, is the faves who are coming back, and they've said that they're going right back to like. They're not like us. They're not just like the reboot. They're going way back as well.
Way back.
Give me Clarky.
Clark wasn't in Celebrity Treasure Island. He was just in
Normie
Treasure
person.
Island.
What?
He was a normie. He was just yeah,
What?
Whoa.
Like just as a civilian?
as a civilian.
Did that make him famous?
It was one of the things that sort of got him out there. He was a radio host at the time.
Well, then he shouldn't have been on...
But there was no Celebrity Treasure Island. It was just Treasure Island.
Oh, so this is like when a celebrity goes on Love Island.
I don't even think he was like a radio host on some, you know, I think
Oh,
he was
like a New Plymouth.
No, I
sort
think he
of-
might have been like with JJ and Dom as like he was on the edge as like a producer or something.
Was
I'm
he
not
like-
sure.
Was it...
He wasn't the first man, and he was far from it at that time. So I don't think he qualifies for.
What a journey.
He has recently been on a beach in Tonga. Did you see that wonderful story about this? There's this famous cat that loves to be buried in the
Yes.
sand.
Wow.
And Clarky's been burying him every
Yeah.
night to watch the sunset.
Yeah.
How do we know the
Stunning.
cat loves to be buried in the sand or just...
You should see the way that cat jumps into the hole.
The cat loves it.
It loves it.
Loves it. All about it. So we will try and scope out as much information as we possibly can. Apparently already being shot. Because when they announced it, I was like, where do I sign up? And I'm like trawling the TVNZ website. And then a knowledgeable corny was like, no, it's been shot.
It has been shot, but it hasn't aired. So could we sort of get
Do it in post.
inserted?
Yeah.
Weta workshop style?
Yeah.
Green
Morph
screen.
suits?
We need to get
We could just be
circus.
trees or something.
I think we just need to get Circus to perform us. What, we don't join the circus,
that?
the Andy Circus.
Oh, yes, of course.
We do, we jest, but we're actually a bit pissed. Anyway, let's move on.
Funny.
Jaden Daniels. So that's the other big news. He's the new Chizzo.
Is he as fond of a Belfie?
Yet to be seen. I don't know. We do love Chiz, so it'll be interesting to see. But I do love Curtis Hannah from Shortland Street, so I'm not mad about it.
Who's going to call the games? Because that's an underrated part of the show.
Yeah,
Chizzy's commentary.
Well, maybe Brie will move into that role as now like the senior host.
But then she's good colour, because she sort of like eats the food and makes funny japes straight to camera.
Look, January, it's not that long to wait. All will be revealed. I just bloody hope Susan Boyle gets back on the island. That's all I want. I want her
Simply
to.
has to.
I
And
wanna
we're
see
getting
more.
another season later in the year.
Another season later in the year.
And briefly, MKRNZ's coming back.
And not only that.
Well, can we talk about that at the TVNZ Awards? Because they came out, everyone
Showcase.
else... Yeah, sure. Yeah, accurate. Okay, fact check me. But... so everyone else was going hard off the teleprompter, like absolutely strictly on message. These lads, what are their lads' names?
Manu and Colin.
They, in Fastnage, they came out and Sam Brooks, part of our recap, talks about these chefs doing improv. They did do improv and they brought the house down. It was a different time. Like, there was...
Extremely old school sexist jokes.
Yeah.
And we were loving it.
We were loving it because up till
Sexism's
then,
back, right?
up till that point, it had been a tiny bit near sexism. Never went anywhere, I promise you. But up to that point, it had been a little, done what it needed to do. It was a little bit dry in moments, and
It was
they
a little bit hot in moments.
It was very hot. There were fire buffers. What are those things called?
They're called
exactly
fire
what they're
buffers. Yeah. Wow.
We managed to snag seats quite near the front because they were near a whole bunch of reserved seats, but they weren't actually reserved. So we were quite close to the flames, and got hot in there.
Lost my eyebrows. And the chips were too spicy.
The chips, there was
Speaking of heat.
nothing but spicy flavours.
Really spicy, the new proper tortilla chips.
Yeah.
And then we were going hard at it. And then, sorry, it's fine. And then I wiped my eye. And I was crying.
no,
It looked like I was crying.
pink eye.
over the
Alex leaned across and
announcements.
was like, I put chip dust in my eye.
My highlight was when when you think, fuck's sake, when something just keeps going, but then you accidentally say fuck's sake, not even particularly quietly, when they just do another thing. And we were literally surrounded by senior TVNZ people, like real cool ones, like our mates.
And remind you that behind us are all the reserved MVP seating.
Yeah, that was true. And I just said, fuck's sake. And they just gave me this what the fuck did you just say? I tried to make it okay, but I don't think I made it okay.
You should have taken a hot tip from Alex, just been like, got chip dust in my eye.
Yeah.
No, it was just so obviously the timing was savage.
Any other real news?
Just briefly, the champagne lady got locked out of her hotel room in Martinborough over the weekend. Cuddly Bear lost the keys. And she had
Cuddly
to sleep on
Bear.
the floor outside of the Martinborough Hotel.
Holy...
That
in
doesn't
the
seem
hallway.
like a
Was
true
that at
story.
Toast Martinborough?
No.
Just normal Martinborough?
Just a normal trip to Marty B.
When you say accommodate hotel, could you not go to reception and say?
But it was the middle of the night, because you know what they're like. Got home probably 2 a.m.
It's true.
Cuddlies.
Sounds like she was found asleep, passed out in the hallway,
But she was
and
live
has come up with this.
Facebooking it. She was still on the floor. Still on the floor. 5 a.m.
Honestly, get her to the island.
Left 200 calls.
Yeah, actually.
Wow.
Because they got to be casting right now.
I worry though, I don't think everyone, because there's not champagne on the island, as far
all
as I'm
she
aware.
drinks.
And she's like Napoleon. I genuinely don't know if you could just cold turkey her off the champers for 3 weeks and
Get
have
it
her
written
survive.
into the contract. Just have all the rewards would
Like a
be,
drip?
and
Yeah.
She's just wheeling around a drip of champagne
all
at a
the
time.
rewards would have the bottle of wine with it.
Yeah.
Every
True.
single reward.
A partner deal.
And I bet you she'd bloody win those challenges if that was the reward as well.
She's nimble.
Right, let's get into reality check. Let's count down that final 20. Celebrity, Treasure Island, every contestant ever from the reboot, top 20 ranked from 20 to 1. Very catchy.
I have 4 weeks to decide I'm going to drop my entire frugal life video.
I am disgusted at how much you have copied my husband.
This is fine. Don't even
Reality check.
What if Susan Boyle went to the island?
She would win. She'd win.
We should get dogs out there.
We've talked about that. You know what? We have talked
Have
about
we
this.
actually?
We have talked talked about this before. Yes, I
not
told
me
you.
repeating myself.
I go back and listen to old episodes. We floated a Shortland Street cast one.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, that was a very good idea.
And we've also
I
floated
think
animals on the island.
Susie, do you want to get down?
Does she need to...
What does she need to
She'll
do?
be fine. She's fine.
There's a
Does
plant
she
in
know
the
how to
corner
get
if you
down?
need it, Susan.
She's quite short. You might need to lift her down. She's got very short legs.
This is my problem too, Susan. Constantly having to get people to lift me off
Come on,
seats.
Susie.
Here she comes.
Well, I am a hairy boy.
Yeah. That's her one downfall, to be fair. She sheds like you wouldn't believe.
Okay, can we do the rankings? Yeah. All right, let me find them on my computer. So we left off with, I believe it was Joel Rindelob was our number 21, and we're into the top 20 now. Coming in at number 20, Jess Tyson. She made it to the top 6 of her season, which was the 2021 season. She was eliminated in conjunction with Candy Lane in that very tense peers elimination. And Duncan, you've got thoughts. You think that's too low in the rankings for Jess Tyson?
No, I think it's appropriate. I think there was she was initially they tried to put her well down. I know that she they
Those horrible ladies.
Yes, I'm looking at them. I think so. Like, admittedly, she was earnest and it was no jokes. But I think that you need a character like that, and I also think she did really good. Like her charity clearly meant a hell of a lot to her. It was literally her charity, not. And I feel like she spoke like incredibly compellingly and in a really open way in a forum where that kind of, it feels intense to discuss it, but it's also like it's really important to that in that terms, that mass piece that you have a convo like that there. She had really good Te Ao Māori sort of integration as well, like, and which was the kind of the breakthrough motif of that season. And I just rated her as a like great competitor. Just, you can't all be crack-up comedians. Like, you need some Jess Tysons. Now tell me why I'm wrong.
Because this isn't The Fold. You've done an excellent breakdown and analysis of where it stands, where she stood societally and what she did and her purpose and all that kind of thing. To me, bit boring. So with a real pod lens on it, I think 20 is probably too high, to be fair.
She did wear socks and jandals on the beach repeatedly. That's a bit of banter?
Yeah,
is it not?
But if that's your only memorable kind of, I mean, I was super surprised that she was top 6. I looking back on where people came, I was like, really? I think going that far in the competition and not having any real bloody funny moments.
But it's not a funny moment show, even though it is funny moments.
It is a funny
but that's not
moment
how
show.
you decide how deep you go, because there is still, unfortunately, a competition.
No,
and she
but
was
I'm
good at
saying
it.
in terms of ranking the entertainment value of someone.
Yeah, but you just said top 6, not top 20.
No, I was talking about top 6. She went
In the
through to
show,
the top
in the
6 in the
show.
show.
Yeah, in the show, but you get through to the top 6 of the show by doing good at the,
I know,
challenges
but we're
and
not
that.
ranking on how good they did in the show.
But
Are we arguing about our
She
argument
did
now?
use, I found a quote from her where she says, if I can use their love for me as an advantage, I'm going to do it. So I think we also need to remember that she, although she was like, sweet and nice, that was her strategy. And that got her there. And I know that does count for something in the top. Jane's sticking out her tongue. You were the one who started this metric with all these crazy numbers.
Yeah.
it's your algo.
It's your algo.
You guys messed with my algo, okay? Because I put a 40 versus 10 weighting, 40 points for entertainment value versus 10 points for gameplay. And so to me, it's all about just crack and tally. It's all about crack and tally.
Okay. Well, congratulations to Jess Tyson. You've made the top 20.
Don't we do certificates for these celebs? Because they definitely put them on their bedroom
I
wall.
assume there's going to be some sort of prize giving.
There is going to be a prize giving at the end of this.
Get some buffers out.
You just wait. Dylan Schmitty, buffers for Dylan. He's in at number 19. Where did he come in the competition? I started filling out where everyone came, but there's a few that I missed. He went quite far.
He got taken out by TK in the balance on the cones and hold yourself up with your fingers challenge.
I don't
remember.
No, midway?
This is all we remember of Dylan Schmidt. Female body inspector.
So good. Like, I worry that were it not for Dylan Schmidt, that phrase might never have been uttered on TV post, like, internet.
It's true.
So you're telling me he's part of the FBI?
I think he aspires to join the feds.
I have to challenge you something on Alex.
Excuse me?
It's not the only thing that Dylan Schmidt will be
Challenge
remembered
you something
for.
on Alex.
I'll try to do that again. I have to challenge you on something, Alex. That's
Yes.
not the only thing Dylan Schmidt will be remembered for.
Okay.
I'd like you to cast your mind back to one magical moment where there was a entire body flip on a tiny little rebounder trampoline.
That's true. But that's what he does.
No, but not a rebounder.
I also think like there was that amazing sequence where they were all talking very emotively about missing their like partners or best friends.
That's right.
And Schmitty was like, I miss my tramp. And it was like weirdly moving and also one of the 2 or 3 funniest things that happened on the show that
That's
season.
right.
But he was also excluded from the big boys, taking out the big boys.
I was really confused.
Yeah, there was
Because he's a big boy, he's swole.
There was a lot of conversation about taking out the big boys and how they were such threats. While Dylan was sat there in the camp,
And just like busting out of his
Yeah,
shit. Like he's
ripping
so
through.
not
Have
being
you-
His
considered a
bright
big boy.
yellow tradie polo as well, which I think bears mentioning, like cool fashion on the island.
Very.
And he got swindled, remember, by Ron, like kind of early on when they were in a challenge together. And I think he thought he struck some kind of deal, but Ron was just like, instead of swapping a clue or whatever, was just like, can I have all your fishing gear? And Dylan was like, yeah. Are you the FBI?
Look, this is my point, right? Dylan's at 19, Jess is at 20. Dylan wasn't there for anywhere near as long as Jess was, and all of these memories, all of these moments. I rest my case, Your Honour. At number
She
18.
has a point.
At number 18, Cam Mansell. Friend of the pod, came in and did a
Bestie of the pod,
Huge
member of
fan.
the Discord,
Huge fan of the pod, definitely has listened to it.
definitely knows exactly what's going on with the real pod.
He was such a great commentator who grew. Like when he was first announced and in the very early episodes, I don't think he got a lot of airtime, but over the course of the season, he just really came into himself. He had this amazing friendship with Susan Boyle. They did yoga together or meditation together on the beach. What else did he do?
He shared his love of nuggets.
Nuggets.
And he kind of just like, I loved his look on the island. Like when I saw him in real life, I was like, you are a different person. Both like insanely handsome, crazy to look at. But he really went full sort of Pirates of the Caribbean looking out there. And I respected it.
And he did have some game, as much as he didn't think he did. He did, because when you think about that really, really funny scene where Courtney Louise had to make a really difficult decision about saving Melody or not, and Cam got involved in that, and he was like, don't save Melody. And so he really developed as someone who, was all lost at sea to start with, made it all the way through to the top 6 with Dame Susan Boyle, the pair of them as a not only new BFFs but also competing together. Just a lovely, lovely story arc for the young man.
He also had that quality where he felt like he was representing the viewer, like both in terms of his responses to the celebrities doing weird things and his general, he had this kind of ingenue quality to him. A lot of time for Cam.
And what a way to go.
What a way to go.
Forgetting, or not realizing that you actually had 10 blocks the entire time.
Yeah, when you say a lot of time for Cam, truly a lot of time spent looking for a block that they actually had already found. So just to remind you, in the competition to get into the top 4, the face-off was digging up a bunch of things. They needed to get 10. They got what they thought was 9, kept digging. But it turns out they actually had already got the 10 puzzle pieces.
Oh.
The craziest part of this is I asked him very recently over the DMs how long they spent digging for that elusive 10th piece, because we had speculated that if it had been any more than like 5 minutes, they definitely would have won the challenge, right? They were digging for 40 minutes after already having
So no
the
one did a
pieces.
count?
Well, no, I guess not. Just wild.
You know what would be good for digging challenges? Dogs.
Yes.
Imagine that if each team had a dog they could bring in
Yeah.
to help.
Oh, that's
You'd
such
probably
a
want
good
a bigger
idea.
dog than Susie B.
Looks can be deceiving. She is asleep now.
Speaking of pocket rockets, at number 17, Athena Angelou. I've just got pocket rocket. I've just got Pocket Rocket written here.
Which I think counts for a lot. When people get their own nicknames within the game, I think that makes you a top 20 competitor. We forget Athena made it all the way to the end. Her and Shannon were right there till the very end. She was amazing in her interviews. We've forgotten this because it was 2019 and it was before COVID and everything's gone to hell.
Also, the 2019 season was before it became like a core part of our cultural makeup as a nation. It was just a show.
It's true.
This is true.
Oh, the fold.
She also spoke a lot about, like, she was homeless for a time with a young child.
I
and
remember
her
now.
backstory, as told on the show, was, like, incredible. And she was one of those ones where we had no idea who she was before she went on. And it introduced this, like, amazing new talent to the country.
What's she doing now?
Rocket. Don't know.
Pocket Rocket?
Probably
Forever.
Rocket Lab.
Once a pocket rocket, always a pocket rocket. I've also been referred to as a pocket rocket when I was
What
on
does it
C4.
mean?
I don't know, someone who's small and loud, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Feels
That
almost.
scans.
At number 18, too low, honestly. Lynette Forday.
Oh, Lynette. Our friend, in a way. We've seen her around a lot. I think people that you see around are a friend.
No, she's a friend. Like, because I stopped and bailed her up when we were...
That is not how
On the train track.
It's not really how you make friends, Duncan, but good for you.
Well, it's the way I make friends. I don't know how you do it. But she initially looked at me like I was a crazed fan, which, yes.
Accurate.
And then when I explained who I was at quite some length, she eventually sort of went, oh, the spin-off, I love the spin-off. And then I talked about our podcast. She seemed completely unaware of it. Surely just some mistake. She must have just forgotten about her favourite podcast. That happens. But we exchanged numbers. She was like, I think she was integral to that really combustible early part of the show. Like, you needed her and Susan and Mel to be just kind of basically freaking out nonstop to really make the thing work.
Also having the person who's the fish out of water in the most extreme way possible. The woman had 35 caftans. She had an inflatable coat hanger. She had that weird, like, washing bag, which we never really saw again. But just seeing her kind of, like, in hell from the very beginning, extremely enjoyable. And
Okay.
also, huge hat.
Huge hat.
Which counts for a lot, as we'll talk about later.
Like, I think that hat was like an umbrella. Like, you get the whole of her under the hat.
Remember that amazing Captain's Challenge where they had to... Great challenge. Drink a glass of water really fast. And she's tipped the whole thing down her front and was like, done.
That was amazing. And
That
it's
was
like,
epic.
people were like too scared to let her know that you have to drink some of it at least. It was really like amazing hat because just like no, almost none in her mouth.
None.
So amazing. She was truly chaotic and also walks 6 hours a day. She said that on the show. I was like, surely that's a typo was in the spoken word. And no, she has been spotted out and about a lot, not only by us, but also cornies are capturing her out and about.
Never have seen her sitting.
No, she's always up, always
She's
on the
marching.
go. At number 15, we cast our minds back to the 2019 season again. Jodie Rimmer.
The duck mask. How can we forget that big rubber duck mask that was never explained? Was brought out, I think, on day one. She was just like such a bizarre, kind of crazy auntie archetype romping around the island.
Did she bring the duck mask in her luggage? Is that how it got to the island? Or were they given like photo booth style props to play with when they were just still experimenting
I think
with the
it's
format?
her essential item.
Right.
Maybe that was her bag. You know, like maybe she just keeps things in the duck mask. I wouldn't put it past her. She did so many like... I was going back through the power rankings of the time, and she was basically like a meme. Like, she used to hide in the bushes to try and spy on Sam Wallace. She famously made herself vomit because she was worried she was going to go home.
She didn't make herself
Oh, no, sorry.
vomit.
She pretended to vomit.
So that they wouldn't put her up for elimination because, you know, that would be unfair to put up someone who's sick. It's just actually quality gameplay.
Classic.
But seemingly ahead of her time in terms of, you know, just having fun with the format.
True.
Yeah, I think that she would have made almost more sense in the latter two seasons where it sort of started just to get a bit wavy.
And was also what got her as the voiceover for The Bachelorette and The Bachelor
Oh,
in
yes.
the year to follow.
Yes.
We were introduced to Jodie in her interesting ways.
Hell of a career, Jodie.
Interesting career.
Melody Rules, cousin of my ex-boyfriend.
Is it?
Yeah. That's an interesting tidbit.
I thought it was the name of an old New Zealand show.
It's actually weird that wasn't a James Griffin, like one season wonder, eh?
To put it into context, I was like 18 at the time, so we're talking eons ago. So she was still sort of like a really quite big household name at that point, you know.
Her Instagram handle, at the time, I think in this season they had the celebrities' handles on screen, and hers was @shouty_pirate.
Yeah, she's Shouty Pirate.
Which gets you in the top 20.
That is second only to Travel Photos NZ.
True. The Buzzy Kiwi.
That's another ranking.
That's another ranking to come.
Okay. Number 14, God bless her. What a lovely, lovely person. Incredible player. Gone too soon. Brinley Stent.
Puzzle Queen.
The original Puzzle Queen. She was overshadowed a little bit by Joe. She was overshadowed a little bit by Chris Parker and Lance Savali in the Awesome Foursomes, but she sort of straddled between those two and Joe Damon. What a great group of people to hang out with.
Crazy.
Imagine. I also think, like, Brinley Stent is like a proper weirdo, like, in terms of her comedy, and she did not hold back on the show, and I think that it's like good for New Zealand to be exposed to like non-traditional personalities.
And also her beautiful friendship with Chris Parker. My main memory is when they were like running towards each other when they were in separate camps on the beach and doing like trying to communicate by doing bodies and throwing Tim Tams over the rocks at each other. It was just such a beautiful friendship.
It was. They were
the very end.
Just so lovely. And I think they had been flatting together at the time as well. So very, very close friends, besties, helped each other through. But I can't even remember how she got eliminated.
No. She did send Art Green home, which I remember was quite an early upset. It was very exciting.
It seemed like he was just going to win because he's just giant. And yeah, she just, like it was nothing. It didn't even seem possible. It seemed like there'd be some intervention. Like, you can't send Art Green home.
It's in his contract.
Like the police will show up and just be like, oh, here's the law.
But she did it. She fought the law and she won. The funniest thing I think I've ever seen Brinley do on Instagram was she did a live when she was in Japan once where she was eating or sampling every flavour of Kit Kat available in Japan, which is, by the way, many, many, many. They have so many flavours. So she went through and she ranked them all, very spin-off style, and sampled them all and reviewed them all in one sitting. It was great.
Wow. What was number one?
Can't remember. Can't remember. But I do know that we're heading towards number one in our rankings. Let's have a quick break. We'll have a quick break and we'll return with number 13.
Kia ora, this is Toby Manhire, here to urge you to tune in to Gone by Lunchtime, a podcast with me, Annabelle Lee Mather and Ben Thomas, tackling the world of New Zealand politics, from policy to polling, from scandal to psychodrama. Listen to Gone by Lunchtime, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network, wherever good pods are sold.
Do you find it hard staying optimistic with all the financial news in the media? I'm Bernard Hickey, and on my podcast, When the Facts Change, I'm here to help you navigate the ever-changing landscape of economics in Aotearoa. So join the conversation every Friday on When the Facts Change, brought to you by the Spin-Off Podcast Network in partnership with KiwiBet.
Talofa lover, I'm Madeline Chapman, editor at The Spin-Off. If you have the means, consider supporting our high-quality journalism by becoming a Spin-Off member. Sign up now at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
At lucky number 13, Shannon Ryan, 2019 season. Absolute powerhouse. Should have won.
True mastermind of that season.
She should have won.
She took it very, very seriously, eh?
I still remember when she was Kaihotu of her team and she just had like this amazing aura of like power and intimidation about her. Mm-hmm. And she just carried that right throughout the whole show. where did she go home? Like she went home.
She went home with Athena right before the final.
Yeah, right. So she was top 6 for sure.
She had this vibe, like if Celebrity Treasure Island was resolved in the same way that Hauraki billboard competition was resolved, where you basically it was like a battle of wills. So there were no challenges. It's just at some point you say, well, I probably need to go back to real life and some money. She'd still be playing now.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
if it were up to her.
She did a little bit of she was like Jessie Chook in many ways in her first season in that she amassed a lot of clues.
Mm-hmm.
She was a huge threat. She knocked 2 Olympians out of the competition.
Mm-hmm. She went up for elimination battle 4 times
That's
in a
massive.
row.
I reckon that has got to be a record. Going up for elimination 4 times. It means she won 3 of them. And then I guess the 4th didn't work out so well. But that's massive.
I think what she brought as well, which is something we're used to seeing now, but she was big into like yoga and mindfulness and had all these little like mantras she took her team through. Has she spent time in LA?
I mean, she
vibed like someone who had just come back from LA in the best way possible.
I hate that though, and the reason why is because I don't want to know.
Because that's your thing, eh?
No, that's you. And she was on music television. It's really actually rude.
It is rude. It is rude. But speak to Jackie Brown because she's probably got to say some things about me as well. The thing I think is that when it comes to wellness and yoga and mindfulness and all of that actually manifesting in great success, that annoys me because I'm no good at that shit and I want to be successful at things. Can't just eating junk food and being really unhealthy and lazy also manifest into good things?
That's sort of a type of wellness, isn't it?
No.
Yeah. Health is holistic.
And it's, what do they call it?
The wrong type of self-care. I love it. That's good enough for me. At number 11, no. At number 12, The Wiz, Gary Freeman. What's wrong, Alex?
No, I left The Wiz out of my notes. I can't believe I forgot The Wiz.
How could you forget The Wiz?
The biggest hat, not only in the game, in human history.
Bigger than Lynette's?
Bigger than Lynette.
Wow.
Well, yeah, it's proportionally because The Wiz is a unit. He was captain of the Kiwis.
His head must be massive.
Monster head.
The funniest thing about The Wiz is that I'm not even sure he knew that he was on Celebrity Treasure Island.
No.
I don't know that he had any concept of what was going on.
He just was hanging out with his mates.
He couldn't see past the brim. Honestly, if you go back and look at photos of The Wiz on that show, it is comedy. It is Scary Movie 3. If you recall that famous scene where the lady's hat keeps growing.
Scary Movie 3. No,
which I think is the best comedy film ever made. I do believe that.
Wow.
There's a scene where the woman's hat keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and that is The Wiz. It was just humongous. It should be in the Real Pod Museum.
Can you do like a screening of Scary Movie 3 like in the chambers where you just sort
it's
of
really good.
like where you just like a director's cut-y kind of, you just explain what we're about to go through. Yeah, well, we've talked about doing one on Hinder's Lips of an Angel, but Alex keeps resisting it.
Poo-pooed that.
You seem
we
to
did
think
Twilight once, didn't we?
We did Twilight, and that was a roaring
You
success.
seem to think we can't talk at length about something that's only 3 minutes long. And I don't know where you get that idea from.
And yet. The Wiz also had a great technique when they did the biscuit, you know, the biscuit of the forehead down to the mouth,
Classic.
where he like collapsed his neck and he looked like, you know, when you get a really weak water bottle, like really weak plastic, and it,
Oh, yeah.
and it like
Crumples.
it crumples like that, and he looks exactly like that.
That's
Wow,
an extremely
that's
specific analogy.
really good.
No, but
like
you know,
it. Oh, yeah, I
you know
know.
exactly what I mean.
Yeah, but that's why it's really good. I sort of feel like you should give us sort of a bit of warning when you're going to do like a really good analogy because it kind of wrecks it for the rest of
It
us.
does. We can't compete.
And he made it to the final.
Yeah, so I was going to say...
That part is just completely unbelievable.
Okay, the reason he made it to the final, surely not seen as a threat by a single other person and just accidentally coasted through.
Not seen. There's a sentient hat wandering around.
His performance in the final was indicative of his
Yes.
whole entire time on the island and really spoke to the fact he had no clue what he was doing. He just ran around after the others, completely clueless, literally clueless. And at one point, I think, you know, someone went up the garden path. They went up the wrong way, and he just followed.
Yeah.
He just followed. Didn't give any mind to what the purpose of trying to find the treasure was, what they were there to do. Just like, there's a person who's running, I'll go after them. They seem to know what they're doing.
It was very like sort of, you know, when you watch, like when your kids first go to school and you watch them during like morning tea or
just
something.
run around after
They're
each
just
other.
running around after each other, and it's like there is no leader or game. They're just basically terrified of like if they stop, they'll drown kind of thing. And it was that he had that kind of energy, particularly in the finale.
That's exactly why we didn't realise right away that my son had autism, because we were like, oh, he's doing really well socially at school. And then the psychologist was like, yeah, but at that age, the kids just run around after each other. You can't tell anything. And that's exactly, the Wiz was just running around, not telling anything.
Not a diagnosis.
Not a diagnosis, of course. That just reminded me of that. Anyway, number 11, the man, the myth, the legend, Cribby.
Cribbage.
15th to be eliminated, just missed the top 6 by a whisker.
Oh.
But he had such a pivotal role in this season.
The Spice Girls Alliance, the Backstreet Boys Alliance, the Big Boys Alliance.
The tiny Speedos, but a lot of crib. Like and he got quite sort of angry at various times. He was an amazing trader. Like, he used the sort of force of his scale, which had its own gravity, to just sort of suck clues and implements out of people and offered them nothing in return. They were like, I guess this is fine,
But he did arrive with like a crazy aura of leadership immediately.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, we're going to build a little like conversation nook and we're going to be in a V formation and we're going to move forward. And it kind of worked for him for a while.
And then he had this relationship with Courtney Louise, which was a very unlikely alliance that lasted for a very, very long time and was very effective. The pair of them were kind of controlling things for a while there.
Never quite had full trust, I think, either of them, but rightly so. But they were sort of getting through it. I think Ron Cribb was in the All Blacks during the peak of the sort of Gilbert Anoka, who was this kind of, he's like a real estate agent and like a sort of a guru. And he had like a profound influence on the All Blacks of the 2000s and early 2010s. And it was very much about red mind and blue mind and all this kind of weird sort of pseudoscience stuff. And I feel like Ron brought that kind of energy to the island in a really fun way.
Also just unit. Like the slip and slide challenge.
I will never forget that vision of him running towards that slip and slide and feeling like he was going to burst through my screen and detonate the entire street.
And he just did not stop.
He didn't stop.
He went off the edge of the tarpaulin, over a cliff, uphill, down dale, and then decided to stop only with his forehead at a certain point.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Just dug it in like it created a head-sized divot.
Huge man, huge moment. At number 10, his partner in crime, and I will challenge you, Duncan Grieve. I believe that Courtney Louise trusted Ron like she trusted no one else. At the point where she was like, when she was trying to get into other alliances, she was always bringing Ron with her. I think it wasn't until the very last when they really had to dig into the individual game, and she went a little bit, after she got eliminated and then saved by Karen. I think she had a moment there where she just unravelled a bit, and that's where things came undone with her and Rob. But up until that point, and it was a really long time, they were super tight.
Yeah, that's probably fair. I just remember a lot of those in the moments where she seemed to be really not trusting anyone, even and especially her own self.
She was a savage player. She was an extreme actor when it came to her masterminding. I can't even remember what the situation was, but she masterminded like a captain's vote or something.
Oh, that's right, because she wanted to send Joel home, but she didn't. She wanted to put Joel up.
It's who they wanted to put up for elimination.
But she didn't want to be seen to be the one making the decision, so she fake cried.
Yeah.
But not just cry, like proper.
It was proper
sobbing, Oscar winning. Even Ron was like, I don't know if this is.
Yeah, so she came up with this plan with Ron and was like, here's how it's going to play out. And then Karen's going to put up her hand and say this. And I don't know if they planned that with Karen. I don't think so. I think she just knew that that was the sort of thing that Karen would say. And she just turned on the tears and said, I can't make the decision, so I think we should have a vote about who we're going to put up in the elimination. Just what an actress. Just incredible.
Incredible. She also wore billowy white pants throughout the show, which I think is really brave.
And when eating cream pasta after not having eaten for a very long time. Yeah, I mean, that's...
I don't think... Yeah, I mean, in terms of the people who give their everything to the game and be wildly entertaining doing it, she was very, very high up there.
And she was right on Jesse's tail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right until the very end.
He had so many advantages over her with all his many, many clues and the fact that he knew where the treasure was buried and so on.
That is helpful.
That little old thing. So, by rights, you'd say that she probably did better in the final, but he just had those lovely advantages. Though you could also argue she shouldn't be there at all because, of course, she was eliminated at one point.
This is true.
And Karen O'Leary said, no, I'm going home because I want Courtney to stay. So, sliding doors. And number 9, we're in the top 10 now, guys. It's very exciting. At number 9, Sir Wayne Buck Shelford. He came fourth.
How?
When the 2021 season started and Buck Shelford was there doing his weekend at Bernie's thing, seeming like he had only gone to the island to get out of having to deal with the sale of his house back in the mainland.
That's fair enough.
Totally fair enough. I was like, he's not going to go very far, and that's fine. He's here to be a bit of star power, here for a good time, not a long time.
It also, he had this real grouchy energy where you were like it's almost like his agent just hadn't got him anything for a long time and sort of just panic threw him in the ring, and he was like, so I'm doing what? But I guess I'm here now, and really just did the least. And then by the end was just this amazing, co-mator of the show.
Yeah.
Beautiful friendship with Candy Lane.
Amazing, the Oldies Alliance.
When he beat Richie Barnett.
Huge.
Oh.
To be fair, we didn't find out till very near the end of the season. He's actually related to Candy Lane by marriage somehow.
Yeah.
It's New Zealand. Who isn't?
No,
true.
but I mean in terms of their friendship, it just seems weird that they were kind of at first it almost seemed like he was like, I'm stuck with her.
But I think they didn't necessarily know. I think they worked it out.
No. They're like his brother's married to her sister sort of thing.
Still.
It's
Like Erin and Simone Anderson.
Yeah, it's pretty, anyway. That's by the by. She found a banana in Buck's bag and ate it, and that pissed him off, I think. So
That just sounds so rude.
I wrote down a quote that he said after, I think, they had a big argument. I remember there was some real tense argument where I think Edna and Buck went head to head, and that was when Buck was kind of like, okay, if you want to play this stupid game, I'm going to play. And he said, it's dog eat dog, and I'm a big dog, and I can eat a lot of meat.
yeah, he did say that.
That was incredible.
But then by the end, him and Edna got quite close. However, Edna was so pissed off with Lance when Lance put her with Buck for the Pierce challenge at the end there.
That's right.
There was that really tense, the sandwich, the baguette gate, where they all sat around in silence after that.
Oh, yeah. There was that around, there was a very touching moment where Buck was talked about the rainbow people in relation to Chris and his charity and Rainbow Youth. And it was like, man, when would you get an All Black having this conversation on national television,
I think Buck really, I feel like he didn't think he was going to be around a long time, and he probably was really surprised by the friendships he formed. And I mean, I can't speak for the man, but
no, I think
that was the sense.
That's a great point, actually, because I reckon, and again, I'm just guessing at this, but former All Blacks tend to probably move in really specific social circles, which are largely former All Blacks. And then for him to be thrust into this situation where he's around all different kinds of people, he was like a warrior hard man, famously had one of his nuts fall out of his nutsack because his nutsack got ripped. This this is how we understand Buck Shelford. And then to see all these different aspects of his character with all these different types of New Zealander, that is a big part of why that season just took on this had these particular qualities to it,
Just lovely. And number 8, Sir Wayne Buck Shelford's sister-in-law, Candy Lane. She was such a treat. Candy Lane was just so entertaining. She was, I don't know, it's hard to put into words because she kind of had this sort of quality of a little bit was didn't really know what was happening half the time, just knew she was getting left out of challenges when she wanted to be in the challenges, got quite upset about that, but just kind of, I don't know, flitting about, having a nice time and Why are you all looking at me so blankly?
No, I'm not.
You're looking at me like I am going crazy.
Well, but when you're describing it, doesn't sound like a top whatever person. But I
don't think she was flit. I think my memories of Candy Lane were like extremely emotional, and there's really horrible examples of older people getting left out of everything and being made to feel invisible.
That's true.
And she talked about that a lot. I mean, she did do some funny shit that we learned later, like she smuggled in spices in her makeup palette. I think is genius.
I think I've got too much of that informed in my head of kind of like the stuff that we found out about Candy on the island by talking to other contestants who'd been there.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. She did. There was that particularly moving moment where she kept getting stood down from being in challenges. And there was one where they were like, okay, and who else going in? And she was going, I can do it. I can go in. I can swim.
I mean, she's a professional dancer, businesswoman, like so both physically and in terms of like, you know, the just the scale of her operations. She should by rights have been considered both a threat and a massive asset. And the fact that she was stood down without anyone even really asking her, you know, what she was about, or, you know, like I do think, yeah, that was another aspect of that season, like what you said, Alex, like the invisibility or the kind of disregard of old people, but particularly older woman. Like she was so compelling when she talked about that, and I think, you know, like it was those weird two speeds of the show was like really funny and really moving.
Love it.
And again, when she, much like Buck, decided to start playing, we got that amazing line, and I can't quite remember, where something like, "There's not enough room in your mouth for my words," to Edna, which made no sense.
No.
So I don't even know if I've misquoted it or not.
No, it was something like that. I think, you know, Edna accused Candy of putting words in her mouth, and she replied with, "There's not enough room in your mouth
for my words. I'm a big dog." I just do like the energy of like these older people that are like, "I have seen twice the shit you've seen. Shut up." You know, these like young people. It's just a great dynamic.
And both of them made it into the top 6.
Incredible.
So Candy and Buck both got top 6. So just out there doing it for all the oldies, you know?
And we have to talk about her little parody, the Godmother singlet that she wore throughout the game.
She was just
very strong.
So, there was a lot of like quite deep stuff going on with Candy Lane, but honestly, she was fun and funny as well.
She was.
Just a very great character to have on the show. Again, one of those people who maybe, you know, it just seems, what's the word, when something doesn't fit? You know, it just doesn't seem like necessarily part of the natural cast that you'd imagine on the island. So what a lovely surprise. And then she delivered. At number 7, Siobhan Marshall. This woman had an arc, man. She did so incredibly well in this show, but much like Cam Mansell, started out pretty low-key, pretty quiet, and just really came into her potency.
Also, she was pumping her breasts on that island.
That should have her at number 1, to be fair.
Honestly, it's crazy. She had a very, very young baby that she left for the island. She thought she was going to last 2 days. She had not planned to be there the whole time. And top 4. She came 4th. Yeah, she came 4th. Unbelievable. She was collecting alliances like stickers.
At first it was funny, you know, she was just like, I love it, I'm in all these alliances. And by the end, they were just like genuine friendships, one of which got her completely saved from elimination because she gained the trust and friendship of Joel so much that he threw an elimination challenge so she could stay in the show, which was a pivotal moment. But she also turned into a total beast in challenges by the end. Like she was absolutely nailing puzzles, winning things left, right and centre, and just really quietly and humbly and kind of being like pleasantly surprised by, I didn't think I'd be able to do that, and I was able to do it.
But there's also increasingly realising the threat of Jessie, and giving us that enunciation.
she was very much the audience on the show, and that constantly being surprised by basically everything in this very sweet and personable way. But then also, once she started to realise that she was really good at a whole bunch of things on the show, you know, which seemed to take her a long, long time, she was beast competitor.
Totally. Totally. And number 6, boss babe, Edna Swart, who for ages my autocorrect would write Stewart. And so I think throughout the whole bloody season we were recapping, I kept calling her Edna Stewart.
No.
I've sorted my shit out now.
Did you?
Yeah, well, not the whole time. First couple of episodes, and Alex kept correcting me. Anyway, I got it right this time. Edna Swart. She was in the top 3 of the 2021 season with Lance and Chris. Very good at the game. Had a very strong focus right from the moment she arrived on the island. She wasn't here to make friends. Accidentally did by the end. She was there to win. Ferocious.
I think people really she was extremely kind of underestimated and mischaracterized from the jump. She was the stereotypical, vapid influencer, with not a lot going on, and she had to fight. And she does have this kind of hard personality, and she sort of fought that the whole way. But and I think at the start we were probably a little bit leery of her, but by the end you're just like, well, she's just such a cool and specific person to be on TV. Yeah, she was amazing.
She was a blueprint for Courtney Louise, in terms of being very single-minded, looking amazing, by the way, the whole entire time.
Absurd.
And just being like an amazing player and just proving themselves beyond what you'd expect.
Ed and I swimwear. I did check it out and I went, nope. No way.
Edna can wear Edna.
Edna is made for Edna. Season 3 Boss Babes, by the way, is on TVNZ. Great watch. And I really liked in the final, there was this moment after the win, I think, where Chris was very emotional. He said to her, he's like, people think you're one thing and I know that you're not, and you've shown everybody that. And I feel like it was just an amazing journey for her.
Preach.
Yeah. Honestly, that top 3 is just so incredible.
She also beat Buck in that endurance challenge, which got her to the top 3. Remember, they were hanging on a pole, which, Buck's big older guy.
Yeah, but he's also an ex-All Black, Yeah. And they have a really strong mental game, those guys. This is the guy whose testicle fell out of his testicle sack.
Yeah. Popped it back in and kept on scrubbing.
That's not someone I would want to be in any sort of endurance challenge with.
I want to know more about that. Anyway, we'll talk about that later.
He doesn't like to talk about it, which is real cool because I would talk about nothing else if I was that staunch.
Yeah.
She was quite confused about the game, which was fun for a long time in the middle there. She thought she was in all these alliances that she wasn't, and she started getting really paranoid and carried away with things. I remember her having a really funny conversation with Kimberly Crossman at one point. I think there was a really obvious clue about a ship or something, and then she just went off on a tangent, was like, but what if it's about this? It's like, no, it's just about a pirate ship. It's very, very straightforward.
She also innovated crushing Tim Tams into rice, which I think is huge.
Sounds desperate. Sounds desperate.
Sounds yum.
Does sound quite yum.
Nice pudding.
She also had a really touching moment, I think, quite a telling moment in terms of her tenacity, where she talked about her dad and how he was a win at all costs kind of a person, and that's just, it was something she was a little bit solemn about, but spoke to why she had the drive that she did. At number 5, the man himself, Jesse Chook, the winner of the most recent season of Celebrity Treasure Island. Extremely good at the game in every way. Got a whole mass load of advantages in 1,000 clues.
But he sort of got those by being really good at the game as
absolutely.
well,
The whippet of the game.
Yeah, and he was he had this unique quality, a little bit Lance-esque, where he was able to make friends with a lot of people while completely shafting them in kind of the nicest way and feeling bad about it, but doing it anyway. And ultimately, his physical prowess just couldn't be, it just couldn't be argued with.
He was just so good at every kind of game, and even if he sort of got behind or somehow disadvantaged, he'd just sort of glide through. I think Nikki said at the time, who was that kid who was just good at everything at school sports. He so was that. But then also being good at all the strategy while also being everyone's mate, really, Yeah, I feel like you could play Celebrity Treasure Island for 20 years and he would still be the best that ever did it.
Also his outdoorsiness, his familiarity with the sand and sea, even the burying of that treasure. You know how he was when he talked to us about cross referencing and looking at the dunes and accounting for the sand coming in, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, he was the worst person in terms of for everybody else.
Yeah.
He was the worst person to get that advantage of being the navigator / trader, because anyone else could have buried that treasure somewhere and got there on finals day and gone, shit, now, what was it again? I don't know. Everything's changed. Whereas he just has these ocean navigational skills and life experience in the outdoors, and he was probably like the head of the orienteering team when he was 12, and he just nailed it. Completely nailed it.
And there is a nice poetry in his charity too, being a charity that works very closely with Ngāti Kuri and, that it is of the ocean where the show was. It seemed like he was going to win pretty early on.
Yeah. That's the only critique you can make, is just he kind of wrecked that aspect of the show by just being obviously the winner from almost the start.
And you got to respect the zinc and the ongoing commitment to sun safety.
Yeah. And he did have some great, in the moment interviews and things as well. But he's mostly there just for being a crazy savant at the game. The only reason he's not higher is because of the 4 people who are ahead of him. And at number 4, we have Lance Savali, who, speaking of savants of the game, this guy was our first example of someone who could just befriend everyone, confuse everyone, and just nice guy his way through it, while actually being a really masterful player.
He was like the Joker.
He confused people. People would go into conversations going like, I'm going to talk to Lance and I'm going to say this and I'm going to make my point really clear and I'm going to have him up about this and I want to know what he thinks. And they'll come out going, I don't know what happened there, but Lance gave me a pineapple. Just really, he swindled everyone, but in the most lovely, affable way.
And I think when he was swindling people, it was almost like the sort of like his eyes were rolling back in his head, and he just went into this kind of strange trance and just swindled them, and then would just be like, "Oh, am I okay?" Like there were those amazing existential in the moments where he towards the end, and he was like, I don't know who I am anymore, and I really bought that.
Yeah. But he didn't stop. He kept going.
Can't stop.
Also, he was like pretty physical, pretty good at challenges, right, from memory. I just remember like his little movements is what I remember, particularly in like captain's tests.
Yeah.
When he'd be trying to dupe people, and I remember him going, mime, or something like that. And it's like, that's something that me and Joe still do around the house to this very day.
I think Lance was someone who was able to separate himself from the game. Like he was able to just like see the game for what it was and just play the goddamn game and then have fun while doing it as well. I don't think he took anything particularly seriously. He was Kaihotu for ages, and it got to the point where he was like, I don't even want to be Kaihotu anymore. Like making these decisions is hard. I wanted to hand it off to someone else and have a go in the elimination arena. I don't know if he ever ended up in the arena at any point.
No.
He got to the top 3, obviously, with Chris and Edna, and very nearly won it.
Incredible. There was just one more genius thing I remember him doing. Remember when they had a pirate auction and they all had a certain number of coins, and Lance was just like bankrupt and was just driving up the price of everyone else's gem. Was just like
that was amazing. I feel like they should do like economics 300 level papers on his crazy bidding strategy.
And then we saw something similar happen in The Apprentice Aotearoa, which surely must have been inspired by Lance Savali's performance at that auction. At number 3, Lance's BFF, dancing buddy, flatmate, Elvis Lepete. What an incredible on-screen talent. Just
bronze winner.
Oh, too much entertainment for me to cope with. So funny. So fun.
Yeah, and if you think about all the facets of the game, like incredible in the moments, really, really electric quality in all of the challenges, friends with everyone, but also like able to kind of, like play the game as well, like just such a complete package.
Yeah, he was really sassy. He was on the outside looking in a lot of the time, very like Chris Parker-esque from the season before, in the sense that he could kind of remove himself, see everything that was going on, and like call people out in his on-the-fly interviews and be like, I've got your number, don't you worry. He was just incredible.
And he kind of had that quite emotional moment maybe 3/4 of the way through where he just completely broke down in his interview and was like, this is really hard to keep up this persona of being this like sassy person all the time. I'm seeing everything. This is really difficult. He gave a lot of those moments when he talked about his mum as well. When he's like, all I want is to take my mum to the nail salon when I get home. Just such a unique, incredible character to have on the show the whole way through. And I feel like, because there was some tension, we're talking about, is it Lance or is it Elvis for the third spot? Lance is like too cool, I think. Elvis is so relatable. When he's like running through the brambles of Final Three, screaming about the spiders and how much he hates everything, and he's like pissed off at production for making him dig up a cage, I was just like, that's what we want to see.
Meanwhile, Lance in the final had like some sort of, because he has a heart condition and he had some sort of medical kind
That's right.
you know,
God, of
and then he
course.
just kept on going, which no human other than Sir Buck Shelford would do.
Well, it's also like quite an amazing thing to be like, I've come this far in Celebrity Treasure Island, even if it risks my life, I must persist.
Whereas Elvis, when he was like so far back, was still fighting in that finale and ran down the beach yelling, "Mate ma atonga!" And I was like, you are last, my friend. But it just didn't matter, It was so great.
I also just quickly on Elvis, like I feel like I think certainly and I think a lot of people have this like complicated relationship with social media. Don't necessarily think it's a thing that should be, but he is like a classic type of a star, who was kind of unimaginable in any previous era, who this phenomenon has birthed, and it was such a smart thing that this show did that they haven't really done or had kind of found an easy way of doing in other shows. That is like just put them on TV and you put them up against the other celebrities from all walks of life, and you're like, this guy's kind of rinsing you all. Like, he's brilliant.
He's just amazing, and I love him, and he definitely deserves to be top 3. At number 2, which is going to give away who our number 1 is, but at number 2, the Dame herself, Dame Susan Boyle.
I had Dame Susie Madness and was pushing for her for number 1, purely because of the perception of her before the show and the perception of her after the show.
And during the show.
And during the show.
Like, it changed.
Completely. There's probably been no other person that I think has gone into the show and shattered their public persona in such a way as Dame Susan Boyle.
I remember just thinking, especially in the early episodes, like, how was this chick race relations commissioner when she was just so ferocious and undiplomatic and just like this shit-talking beast? And then she kind of retained that, but there was also this kind of softening and this leadership quality. I mean, you were probably the biggest Susie D fan on the planet, Jane Yee.
Yeah, I'm such a fan, and I think I wasn't at first. I thought she was really mean to Lynette, but I think
she was.
But I think while you say she had probably the biggest change in her public perception, I reckon that no one in her personal life would have been surprised one bit by who she was. I think she was 100% Susie D the whole way. And at first I wasn't sure if she'd come in a little bit Mike King-esque with that kind of like, maybe that's what the intruders were sort of charged with, is going and like mucking things up, and maybe she was bringing that energy. But no, that's just her. But I can't get past someone who does a vom in the middle of an interview after smashing an entire crayfish. Like, to me, that's hero status. She just dusted herself off, came back down, was like, where was I? And I'm so scared of vomiting. I have such a phobia of it. The fact that I could listen to Susie D, have a vom on the telly, and for me to not freak out, I think speaks volumes to the effect and power she has over me.
The other thing about her, like, so she had a bit of a similar situation to Candy Lane, in that she was sort of, even though she was a freaking multi-time world champion at her sport, she was kind of, did have a bit of that older woman kind of dismissal thing happening. And this isn't a critique of Candy at all, but the strength of her sort of will, just how amazingly alpha her personality is like that shit did not last very long.
Also, just a quote machine.
Oh, quote machine.
The only notes I've got is just all the things that she said. Jim's got a big vag. In relation to the possum. Also accused, was the possum's hanging around because it can smell Siobhan's breast milk, which is like the gnarliest thing anyone has ever said.
So
and it's crazy
intense.
She still has her damehood after that. Eyes like piss holes in the snow. I look like a bush pig. I nearly blew a foo-foo valve. She told Mike King to shut the fuck up.
Wow.
And she thought the monolith, famously, was a peep show.
And
She's a teddy bear,
and her escaping, like going up to the monolith while everyone else was sleeping, just in her PJ pants and trying to like figure out how to open it. Like that's trying to ruin the show.
Yeah, she there was actually some good like, what are the rules? Or like whatever they say. I say they are kind of stuff on that show, and she was a big part of that.
Her lovely friendship with Cam, the fall off the box, just everything.
Doing the splits. Oh, getting hives. Oh, we love her.
We love her. So that means at number 1, our dear friend, wonderful competitor, the little train who didn't think he could but could in the end. Is that what the storybook is? Chris Parker.
Yes.
It has to happen.
It has to
Rewatching the finale just yesterday to brush up.
Wow. Commitment.
Such a winner.
Such a winner.
He is bleeding from the mouth. I don't know. There's all these parts that I forgot from that finale that, like, we know he was so far behind.
He was Elvis level far behind.
And, like, it was just a lost cause, and we were just waiting for Lance and Edna, who were already digging to find it. Meanwhile, Chris is, like, praying to Mariah, is saying, you know, there's one thing I don't do, I don't give up. And he fucking won it.
He won it.
Incredible.
Incredible. And the way he spoke about, you know, like imagining a teenage Chris watching him and the relationship with Rainbow Youth. And then when he came in to the real pod, you went there, Alex, and it was, we were all weeping with him. Like about 30 seconds of him walking into the studio with what it meant. The silly, silly show, and just wrecked like I don't know, that doesn't happen.
He also, like, his career trajectory post-show, I think, speaks to just how crucial an element of this entire series from whenever it started to now. Like, he's kind of like the figurehead of it all now. He came in as a guest on the most recent season. He's enmeshed so much with the show because of the way that he won, because of the messaging that he put across during his time there, and also just being, again, so likable, everyone's friend, really funny, really sassy, just incredible commentary in the and B-roll footage of him like playing around in the sand and stuff. Like the perfect character for this show.
When he digs up the treasure and he's just like sobbing, and all he can say, he's just saying, "That's so good. That's so good." And it's just like, and the fact that he like cracked it because he remembered the grass at his old flat. Like, just like, what a win.
What a win.
Honestly, I highly recommend it. It's on TV and On Demand. Go back and watch that finale. It's one of the best hours of reality TV. Yeah.
I know you say 2021.
And we did, this was in lockdown. This was in the big lockdown. And Chris Parker winning that was a real moment for all of us.
As a country, I feel like we sort of found hope.
Yeah, we're like, we can beat COVID. Chris has won Celebrity Treasure Island. We can beat COVID. We just have to know the right grass. We have an acceptance speech from Chris for this honour.
That's a thing that's happening.
We'd like to play it for you now, and we'll let Chris take out the show. Thank you very much for joining us for this roundup, this recap, this ranking of Celebrity Treasure Island, every contestant ever of the last 3 seasons. Thank you, Samuel, for recording. But most of all, thank you to all the celebrities for just some quality, amazing television. Here's Chris.
This is such a shock. I have got nothing prepared. But I'm so sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I just wanted to formally accept this award, which I think is $100,000 for my chosen charity. And I'm so sorry to Dame Susan Boyle, who is truly an icon and has contributed so much to this show that I care so deeply about. But to be labelled as New Zealand's hottest contestant on Celebrity Treasure Island is one of the greatest honours of my life. Thank you so much. It is hottest.
Kia ora, I'm Duncan Grieve, founder of The Spin-Off. You can help us keep all of The Spin-Off's award-winning journalism free for everybody by becoming a member today at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
Kia ora e te iwi, Te Aihe Butler here, podcast manager at The Spin-Off. If you enjoy listening to our podcasts, consider supporting our mahi by signing up to become a Spin-Off member at thespinoff.co.nz/donate.
The Spin-Off Podcast Network.